And welcome back. Our last guest is the founder of Good News Corporation and Good News Broadcast. He joins us to highlight how he has fueled his passion for environmental and humanitarian work, shining a light on Earth Day 2026 and so much more. So please welcome to the show, Rev. Paul Sladkus. I know, Paul, welcome. Paul, earlier off camera, we were talking about the faith of a mustard seed. And in the Bible, the faith of a mustard seed is mentioned in Matthew 17:20. Jesus says, "Truly I tell you, if you have the faith as small as a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, 'Move from here to there,' and it will move. Nothing impossible for you." And this illustrates an even tiny amount of mustard seed or a genuine faith can lead to great outcomes, emphasizing the power of belief. So that's what we were talking about, the mustard seed. And Rev, thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing in your space and time with us. I know you have the Good News Corporation, and you were on a number of times before, so you're no stranger to the show. Tell us about your passion for humanitarian and environmental work.
Well, I'd say, and thank you, Dr. Lee. It's always an honor to be on your show. You're a man who is humanitarian. And have been for ever since I know you, and through our mutual friend Sandra Trim DaCosta, another humanitarian who cares about using media to promote the good in the world. You're a good news broadcaster. You can have the title as well. And so I was lucky. I grew up nicely in Tarrytown, and I was a Boy Scout, and Tarrytown was, you don't walk by anybody. So go ahead.
Yeah, you're right. Tarrytown, is that the stomping grounds of the Headless Horseman or something like
that? Yeah, he was walking around. Amazing what he could do without the head. But the point is that, life was somehow, I don't know, simpler than people would never go by you without saying hello and look in your eyes and... I don't know. I don't think it's just the Midwest. That was New York.
Rev, why is that missing today? Do you see a lot of that gone? What's going on in today's society?
It's pretty friendly here, but I think to a certain degree, what I think is missing is a little bit of the manners of what we were. Even had I taught manners in school. I don't know. I think I had a class. Taught you how to dance, how to open up a door for a lady. I don't know if the word lady is even known anymore. I mean, it just was a simpler way of life. Maybe without this kind of thing. I interviewed the Brady Bunch, Florence Henderson. She said, everybody sits down and, they're chugging away here and blah, blah, blah. And getting up after, the family structure is of... So we are concerned about that reality, and I've been in broadcasting for 50 plus years. I was lucky to work on shows, All in a Family. There was one that told the story of our humanity, right? I just learned that media has this opportunity to promote the good, and that's I called it Good News Broadcast. After some multicultural marketing and advertising business, and after 14 years with CBS and PBS.
Yeah. What inspired you to start the Good News Corporation?
Well, once again, I kind of do think it was, it's the antithesis of bad news. But my media, just like anybody's media, is the opinion of, I guess you could say, me. The opinion of New York Times. And actually, I think that all media should have a Surgeon General's warning that this could be hazardous to your health, including mine.
I know that's right.
But we've succeeded in the nonprofit side since 2002. We've been focusing on Earth Day and the International Day of Peace, actually. Which is the United Nations, 193 countries agreed to it. We've done concerts in the Bandshell and upcoming on the 22nd from 2 to 7 p.m. We will go into Times Square, Father Duffy Square, 46, 47, and do a 5-hour live worldwide broadcast, maybe the largest Earth Day concert in the world.
Is Sandra Trim DaCosta coming? With the
Yeah, I'm sure.
Bullion Foundation.
Yeah, she'll come down. She's got some of her talented. She's got a beautiful writer who maybe uh, you'll get to interview. She's got a lot of gusto for goodness and actually a lot of responsibility towards parents.
Yeah.
I interviewed Tony Orlando. It was ours is this year. We're going to do a little bit of a tribute to Dr. Jane Goodall, to Pete Seeger, and to future generations. I got the young man who was the son of Kate Hudson and Hugh Jackman in the movie Song Sung Blue, 13-year-old. He's going to be like a co-host with me. And so the future generations are important. And then, like Tony Orlando says, it's not only the kids, it's the parents. The parents have the responsibility to help the kids, so they do have a future generation. Right?
That's true. That's true. Now, you mentioned Dr. Jane Goodall. She worked with the chimpanzees. She spent a large portion of her life in the jungles working with apes and learning the understanding and, just getting down to the nitty gritty of what they were all about. Yeah.
That's for sure. Yes.
So but that's linked up with Earth Day and all the things that you're doing.
It is because actually we know her. We did shows with her, 20 years worth over the time. Me and some of my associates.
Mm-hmm.
So we know her pretty well. She's a peace messenger of the United Nations, and we'll show some of her speaking in that regard. How if we don't take care of Mother Earth, we'll never have peace.
That's right.
So you're going to have, just like Pete Seeger said, well, water, not weapons. If you don't share the resources and you don't consider the concerns of environmental hazards, then we're all going to need to learn how to swim.
Yeah. Did we open things up a little bit? I know we had restrictions on a lot of things in the past, a few years ago, but now it seems like a lot of the things are opening up. More pollution, more of just about everything. Like we're flooring it, we're wide open. And we had controls on a lot of those things before.
Well, there seems to be a desire to loosen the belt for environmental issues, at least in our country here. Some of these other countries are becoming more advanced in their concerns, knowing that some pollution can give you asthma, and
absolutely,
that's we're taking it from the positive side because we're not about doom and gloom. But the underlying concern is it doom? Is it going to be a problem? A serious problem. I mean, some countries, in the islands, they're just not going to be here. It's very simple. And New York happens to be on the hit list along with Miami. We're a water Atlantic Ocean deal here.
Is that one of the things due to the polar ice caps melting?
They say
due
that
to climate change.
That's part of it all.
Yeah.
That scenario. Some of them. I think I was reading. Some the size of Rhode Island.
Yeah.
And so if you have a piece of ice in a glass, once it defrosts, you have more water in that glass.
Yeah. It's sort of
but if you're
overflowing.
drinking scotch, maybe you don't recognize it. I don't know.
Listen, how did you guys make out last year for 2025? How did all the events and everything turn out? And what do you want to do different this year in 2026?
Well, we did real well. We had an Earth Day event on Earth Day last year, and we had a September 19th, 2021. We had a City Hall event, and we got about 3 to 4 million views. I mean, it was a good deal, and views and impressions, and the audience down there in Times Square. The couple 100,000 people walking through there. And they're long events, 5 hours. We have a tremendous talent. I mean, well known and speakers. And Mark Levine, the New York City controller, and helping us and with the city here.
I know
We're
him very
hoping.
well. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's up in from your area also, and hopefully we're on the schedule. But politically, and I asked the mayor, and I asked Brad Holyman Siegel, who's the new borough president of Manhattan, to come and say hello.
Yeah.
Hopefully that'll happen too. In fact, I was just up in Harlem where there was a an event at the Adam
I
Clayton
think Biden
Powell
stayed off his bill.
facility there where I
Yeah.
donated a baby grand piano way back, my mother's,
Wow.
a long time ago. I've done a lot of stuff up in Harlem in my
Yeah.
life,
Yeah.
a lot of shows.
Wow. So,
So that was another good thing for kids to get summer internships and to be busy during the summer. And had a lot of great organizations there. And
yeah.
we have a story on our website. So we have two websites. One is the nonprofit, which is pausetheworldforpeace.org.
Yeah.
That's our nonprofit. And our for-profit is called goodnewsplanet.tv.
Yeah.
We have a YouTube site with about 7,000 shows.
There you go. All right. So, what can the average person do to help with climate change or help do good for our planet? Don't pollute. Help with pollution, breathing clean air, drinking fresh water.
I'm kind of, I've been doing it a long time, and when that came out with this reduce, reuse, recycle commentary, I think it's a very good one. I don't want to say be cheap, but be cheap. Use less.
Yeah.
I mean, America has so much waste. Just hit the streets. Look out there on a Thursday night or a
Yeah.
Monday night. And what do we see? Bags and bags and bags and bags of stuff. I mean, you have to be considerate of the situation. But if you wash something, now you're using water. It's just it's actually I think a world concern, and the world needs to. Overall, we need better world management of the resources. Some kids can't get a glass of clean water in Africa or maybe even Appalachia here in America. And it's they say 1 million. That's a lot of kids that can't get something to drink and might even pass away as a result.
Yeah. I remember going to South Africa, and the tourist board, they're fantastic. They took us around to all these beautiful places, but we wanted to see where the indigenous people lived and what they were doing. So we got one of the buses, loaded it up with food and products that they can use, soaps and all of that stuff. And we drove to Soweto, and we had long lines of people in line to get the foods and to get the products that we've brought, where you put the luggage under the bus.
Yeah.
They emptied that thing out and just spent, some time in it's like a little square. 4 people lived in a little square, and I was crying because it made you count your blessings. That they had like another little square outside where they planted some of the things that they needed. And then they had to walk way up under the power lines, about maybe a mile up, to go get water and things that they needed from a well or something up there. And it was like unbelievable. I cried all the way back to the next spot. And, I gave the lady some money. Thank you. I thanked her for letting us come in and sitting with her to talk about her story and all of that. And they were happy. They were grateful for what they had, but it made you count your blessings.
Yeah.
Count your blessings.
I think there's a famous story about the rocks.
Yeah.
You have so many, people cooking with the rocks and things. It's a lot of facts out there. The good news is that most of the world is living in peace. I speak on that, actually, Richie Havens, when I did Woodstock. And then we have a movie, Peace, Love, and Hope, with him, 1989.
Yeah.
He said maybe 10% of but 10% of 8 million, let's use 800,000 or whatever, at least 7.2 that aren't fighting, aren't in war, aren't going to steal from you. It's a good world. It's just that these concerns, like you talk about, going to see that,
Yeah,
we could do better.
we can do better.
We could do better.
And speaking of blessings and good world and everything, I heard that you've been busy working in the faith-based community. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, I was asked by an interfaith seminary here in New York, the new seminary, 10 or whatever, 10 plus years ago, to produce a show, TV show for them about their seminary. And I, at that time, said, well, if I do that, the best way to make a TV show is to get involved with who you're making the show with, and you'll learn more, and you'll now have a better idea how to produce it. And so I said, I'd like to also become an interfaith. It's an interfaith. I guess one time, early days, I thought maybe I'd become a cantor or rabbi or whatever.
Yeah.
But interfaith is more who I am, as well as Jewish. But hopefully I can help all religions realize how the kindness. And well, I have been involved. I was involved a lot with Pastor Monrose and Mayor Adams' a group that is and does, and some of them still are with the God Squad, doing great things, and I respect them, and I was honored to give them a little bit of help that I could.
That's great. And that means that you're able to sit down in any area, any denomination, any tradition. They call religion traditions. And you can sit down and you can identify with them.
To a degree. I mean, I'm not an expert. I don't know Matthew mustard seed story. I'm not going to.
Now you do.
But now I do, right? I mean, that's the beauty of it all, the utilizing. And every one of the religions talk about peace and talk about goodness and kindness, and they share the other communion. And the Quran, I think it's 43 times they talk about Jesus. So it's just got to be nice. Have a good time. Yeah. Let's have fun. We're flying away in outer space. And that's it. I don't claim to know everything, but love is love, right? That's the key.
And you're spreading the love, and that's love is God.
And love is God. Yeah. And if you believe in God, then that's wonderful. If you don't believe, that's why I say I'm all faith, no faith. Some people don't, they believe in a statue. No. Believe in whatever you want. Just don't punch anybody in the nose. They don't believe that's statue.
Rev, you're an interfaith minister, so yeah. You have that faith.
I got that faith. I believe in Homo sapiens.
Yeah.
I believe in us brothers and sisters. And I think that going back to Dr. Jane Goodall, I'm a believer that we came from them darn chimps. Yeah. And so they look like us. And the DNA proved a lot of it in our lifetime with Watson and Crick and Rosalind Frank, that they have similar DNA. And I don't know. I've been going with that one and eating a lot of bananas.
Hey, listen, thank you so much. Reverend Paul Sladkus, founder of Good News Corporation. We appreciate you. Thanks for coming on.
My honor, Dr. Lee. Thank you.
Talk to you soon.
You do a great job. You're fantastic.
Thank you. Give my love to Sandra, that wonderful foundation that they work with.
There you go. All good stuff.
The Bullion Foundation. Yes.
She's got a ton of us. She's out there.
Yes, and I'll probably come down and do some talks over there at Times Square. Or interview.
Be my guest. Come on out there. Yeah, come down and help us out.
You got it. We'll talk more, okay? Thanks for coming on.
All righty. Bye-bye.